He spent 20 years jumping out of helicopters into enemy territory, and not one single mission scared him as much as opening his own front door. His name was Thomas Reyes, though most people who knew him now just called him Tom, the quiet man who lived at the end of Miller Creek Road. 3 years earlier he had been a Navy SEAL, a man other operators trusted with their lives. Now he was a man who could not trust himself to walk into a grocery store without his hands starting to shake. Tom had left the service with medals, a folded flag from a fallen teammate, and a mind that would not let him rest. The nightmares came almost every night. The silence of his empty house felt louder than any gunfire he had ever heard overseas. He stopped answering calls from old friends. He stopped opening his blinds. Some mornings, getting out of bed felt like the hardest mission of his entire career. His sister Claire tried everything. She brought groceries. She sat with him in silence when he could not speak. One afternoon she showed up at his door holding a cardboard box, and inside were 3 shivering puppies that animal control had found abandoned near the highway. "I'm not asking you to adopt them," Claire said gently. "I'm asking you to just watch them for the weekend, that's all." Tom wanted to say no, he almost did, but something about the smallest puppy, a scrappy black and white mix with one ear that would not stand up straight, made him hesitate. He opened the door wider. That weekend turned into a week, the week turned into a month. The puppies needed feeding at sunrise, which meant Tom had to be awake and moving before his mind could spiral into dark thoughts. They needed walks, which meant he had to step outside, past the mailbox he had avoided for months, down the street he had not walked in almost a year. They needed comfort when they whimpered at night, and in comforting them Tom found himself talking out loud again, softly, the way he used to talk to his team before a mission. He named them Scout, Duke, and Belle. Scout was the brave one, always first through the door. Duke was the gentle giant who leaned his whole body against Tom's legs whenever he sensed sadness. And Belle, the smallest, the one with the crooked ear, seemed to know exactly when Tom needed her most. She would climb into his lap during the worst of the flashbacks and simply stay there, her small heartbeat somehow steadier than his own. Weeks turned into months. Neighbors who had not seen Tom in over a year started noticing him again, walking 3 dogs down Miller Creek Road every morning, rain or shine. A few stopped to say hello. A few asked about his time in the service, and for the first time, Tom found himself able to answer without his throat closing up. One evening, a young boy from down the street knocked on his door, asking shyly if he could pet the dogs. Tom knelt down on the porch steps and introduced Scout, Duke, and Belle one by one, and for a moment, watching the boy's face light up with joy, Tom felt something he had not felt in years. He felt useful. He felt present. He felt like himself again. But the real turning point came on a stormy night in October. A fire broke out 2 houses down, an electrical fault that spread fast through old wiring. Tom heard the smoke alarm blaring through the wall and was outside in seconds. The same instincts that once saved lives in war zones now saving an elderly neighbor named Mr. Whitfield who had been trapped inside, disoriented by smoke. Tom did not think. He acted, the way he had been trained to for 20 years, pulling Mr. Whitfield out through a side door moments before the flames spread further. Firefighters arrived minutes later and told him plainly that his quick action had likely saved the old man's life. Standing in the street afterwards, soaked from the fire hoses, wrapped in a blanket someone had handed him, Tom felt Belle press against his leg, tail wagging despite the chaos around them. He knelt down and held all 3 dogs close, and for the first time since coming home from war he cried not from grief but from something closer to relief. In the months that followed, Tom started volunteering with a local veterans support group, bringing Scout, Duke, and Belle along to therapy sessions for other veterans struggling the way he once had. Watching a hardened former Marine break into a smile because Duke rested his head on his knee reminded Tom why he had kept going. He often tells people now that he did not save those 3 dogs, they saved him, not with grand gestures but with small, quiet moments that reminded him he still had a reason to open his front door every morning. Sometimes healing does not come from a single dramatic moment. It comes from someone or something simply choosing to stay by your side day after day until you remember how to stay too. If this story touched your heart, know that healing is possible even when it feels impossible, and sometimes it walks in on 4 paws.